Good morning, everybody. Again, welcome, a very warm welcome to week 3, panel 3 of Kalpana. I'm Darshana Joshi. This introduction is for our friends who are joining us through YouTube or other means of communication like on Facebook Live and through our Twitter feed. So we are very, very excited to have Professor GN and Richa Srivastava with us today. My colleague Bharti will explain more about Program Kalpana and give introductions to our speakers for today. I'm just going to give an introduction about Vigyan Shala. So as you all know, Vigyan Shala is a young not-for-profit which is passionate about bridging the access, attainability and quality gap in STEM education. And we are doing this by bridging mentors from all across the globe to students in India. And Kalpana is our effort in that direction. So Bharti, over to you, and thank you for joining us. Bharti, you are muted. Bharti, we can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Bharti Singhal, and I'm lead of program Kalpana. Vigyan Shala's Kalpana, it aims to reimagine STEM fields with enhanced participation of women by equipping girls with tools to explore broader possibilities in STEM. We envision to create a self-sustaining and uplifting community of women in STEM who can support each other. This is an immersive 7-week mentoring and professional development program that has been designed by women STEM professionals from leading global universities. This program has 3 major components. The first aspect is focusing on the fresh take of Kalpana on mentoring, where we have funneled the experiences, real life experiences of professional women in STEM, so that we can equip girls with the requisite tools of interpersonal and professional development. The second aspect, it is to bring STEM leaders, innovators, entrepreneurs, and scientists in interactive discussions to encourage girls to reimagine wider possibilities in STEM careers. And the third aspect is to bring powerful personal stories from STEM leaders and providing the Kalpana network support for continuous growth, motivation, and encouragement. So before going any further, I would also like to thank our collaborators, Udyan Shalini Fellowship Program of Udyan Care. It is a Delhi-based NGO, and its Shalini Fellowship is basically empowering young girls with quality higher education. And today in this program, we have 60 girls from Udyan Shalini program with us. In today's session, we are excited to host Professor G. Nagarjuna from Homi Bhabha Center for Science Education, Mumbai, and Richa Srivastava, Managing Partner of Makers Asylum, to dig deeper and understand the importance of inculcating STEM habits and tinkering for social good. So to begin with, I would like to introduce our first speaker of the day, Professor Nagarjuna Gadi Raju, fondly known as GN. Professor Nagarjuna is a professor at Homi Bhabha Center for Science Education, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research in Mumbai. His major research interest includes science education, cognitive science, history and philosophy of science in structure, and dynamics of knowledge. As an activist, he focuses on promoting free knowledge and free software and serves as the chairperson of Free Software Foundation of India. GN did MSc in biology and MA in philosophy from Mumbai and a PhD of science from IIT Kanpur. Some of his areas of interest are semantic web, knowledge organization, AI, philosophy of science, biological roots of knowledge, and modeling complex systems with specific interest in cognitive development. He is the author of Specification and Implementation of Distributed Knowledge, base called GNOWSYS. He is an architect of gknowledge.org, a community portal which was launched on 2nd February 2007. He contributed as a co-developer and architect of Self platform. We are actually really excited to have Professor Gian here, educating us about STEM habits and sharing his initiatives. One of the coolest chat shalas from Cool STEM Games. I encourage you all to join the platform after this session today. So over to you, sir. Thank you for coming today and joining us.
Okay, so thanks. I thought we're going to have a conversation. So you basically asked me to speak. Thank you for a very long introduction, which is almost you read my biodata. Okay, so I really don't know where to start. Maybe because you've been talking about Kalpana is a nice name for. And the subtitle of your program is actually about reimagining STEM education. So essentially, we're talking about Punar Kalpana rather than just mere Kalpana. And so how do we do that? I mean, we sometimes have to learn lessons from what we know best. Before we go on, maybe we just need to know a little bit about where we are in STEM in India. I think not only for women in STEM in India, as well as actually anyone in India, where are we kind of thing. So may I just ask one question in terms of the format of this program, or you want me to speak for maybe some time and then take question answers? What is the idea?
So we can take questions at the end of both the talks, but you can make your talk interactive if you want. You can take questions in between if you want, and we can pick answers, or we can choose girls to answer that particular question as well.
Sir, we can't hear you. Sir, you are.
Sir, we can't hear you. Yeah, I missed.
Sir, we can't hear you.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think the mic got accidentally. So I was about to upload, and the mute button was just next to it. So that got.
Okay.
Okay, I'm actually just sharing my screen. Can you see anything?
Yes, sir, we can see the slides.
What do you see?
Y games. Y games.
Yeah, Y games. Yeah. Okay. So actually, I am not able to see my own screen here. 1 second. Just give me a sec. All right. So so why am I asking this question about Y games? Is because from the history of India, for example, whether it is women cricket or it is men cricket, we are number one in the world. I hope all of you agree. We are always, I mean, may not be the case that we may be picking up the World Cup or all the time, but we are always the main game changers of this format. Now, the question that we have to ask is that why did this happen for India? And if you ask, the very reason why I'm asking this question is because in STEM, whether it is technology, engineering, mathematics, or science, we are nowhere in the even in the first 100 in the entire world. So that is the current situation. Some of you may not agree with me, but that is the sad picture when it comes to the achievements of Indians in the area of STEM. So, so I wanted to just give an idea about the reason for that. Okay, so in any kind of a game, what we do, we play them together. And now we have to ask the same question about do we play STEM together? In fact, I would say that we actually try to compete with each other rather than collaborate with each other when it comes to the STEM areas, both in education as well as otherwise. We always want to compete with our peers. I'm not saying that there is no competition in STEM. There are, but it's a one team competing with another team. It's not one person competing with another person. So that's a major difference in the way how. So it just like you know, in a team game like cricket or football, that's exactly what we do. So we work together to achieve something, and the reason why we are calling them as games is also because STEM games are also games where we follow certain rules. So the other important reason why games are very interesting is that starting from our childhood, we get involved. And it's easy to enter a game. But if you look at STEM, it's very, very difficult to enter the STEM arena, so to speak. So the playground of STEM is so difficult that after your 12th, most of the people try for these competitive exams, and you know how many of them actually manage to make it. And the rest of the people, more than 99% of the people, actually feel as if they are failures. So that is what the current education system, as well as the professional bodies that perform and make us to be part of that, give this kind of a feeling. And another interesting thing that you see is that these boys, where are they playing the game? If you actually look at it, the ball doesn't look like a cricket ball. And the bat certainly is not a cricket bat, but it looks like one. But still, they're quite involved in the whole process. And even though these are not like, you know, Sachin or Dhoni or Kohli who is playing, but still, you know, you have spectators for them. You know, wherever they play, people always like to watch them. So that's exactly what we have to ask when we are learning science. Do we have spectators in our school, college? And where are the spectators for STEM practices in India? Suppose somebody gets an award, let us say, not necessarily a Nobel Prize, but at least a Bhatnagar Prize or something like that. So where are the people to applaud them? And who understands what did they achieve? So this is the contrast that I wanted to draw here. Like we have to ask, where are the spectators for STEM? But for games like cricket, we have plenty of them. And in fact, it's very important for STEM practices to be rooted in the society. That it's not just that we have to play STEM practices, but we also need to find spectators for it, because it is the spectators who support the enterprise. And as you can see here, that some of you who understand the game, and I suppose that most of you understand this game, one of them is judging by saying that the person is out, and the other players are actually claiming the fact that you are a gone case. So the reason that happens is because the people who are playing the game understand the rules of the game. So this is a sort of rather poor situation in the country, for example, where even though we sit in the same department, if one of you write a publication, the other scientist who is sitting just next to your cabin doesn't even read or judge what you're doing. Even they don't like to even say that what you did is wrong or incorrect. So we are not a society where we give feedback to each other. And this is actually one of the major problems why we don't work together. Even when scientists compete with each other, you can actually very see that that competition is so healthy because each one is finding mistakes in the other person's experiments or pursuits or what they write. And this is very important for the success of the STEM game wherever you play it. Okay, so and as you can see here that when we like to play the STEM game, the first thing that we ask is, do we have a lab? Where is the lab? I mean, our lab is not sophisticated. How can I work in my school? I don't have a microscope. I don't have a telescope. I don't have chemicals. I don't have an incubator. I don't have a PCR machine. So how do I do it? So this is the normal question that a lot of lecturers who work in colleges keep asking, because we keep asking them to do STEM research, but then the teachers keep saying that we don't have a lab. How do we do it? Now look at these children. They want to play the game called cricket. I mean, anything that looks like a ground becomes a ground for them. And anything that looks like a wicket, or even if it doesn't look like a wicket, as in this particular case, is been reimagined, so to speak, as a wicket. And they don't have shoes, as you can see. They don't have a uniform. They don't care, but they just want to get involved in the process. And here is another example. This place, as you can see, the reimagination and creativity requires this kind of solutions. So what happens if you don't have a PCR machine? So can I make it frugally? I don't have a microscope. Can I get a microscope or can I make one? Is there a way of using existing resources that I have and actually convert it into a microscope? And where do I do it? And how do I do it? So here you can see that very clear imagination comes up. You may think that this is not real creativity, but actually you will see that that happens. And everybody plays cricket, and cricket is enjoyed by women as well as men, children, adults, everyone. And the reason for that is that it is played in every street. Now let me emphasize this. This is very important. The reason why India doesn't produce STEM producers, we are all STEM consumers, is a country of largest consumers of STEM, both content as well as otherwise. And the question, therefore, that we have to ask is, what is the reason? So if you ask me, my diagnosis is because we don't play STEM in the streets. Unless we play STEM in the streets, we are not going to produce a culture that is academically quite active. I don't know how many of you know the history of the academies that we are running. It started at a place where in the Roman arenas, where people used to play all kinds of games. There was this hero called Socrates, who actually started philosophical games of having conversations and on the street. He used to go and catch anyone on the street and start having an argument with them. And that is how philosophy is born. So these academies, of course, Socrates, one of the Socrates chela who was always with him during his street walks, was the greatest philosopher called Plato. And he started the Plato's Academy. And so that is how the academies actually started. But the important thing that we need to understand is that the academies took birth on the street. And that is the lesson why I wanted to say this point. If you can't take STEM to the streets, I don't think we will be able to think about how to restructure this whole thing. Well, this innovation and imitation both continue, as you can see brilliantly. Just a paper carton becomes the protecting devices for these people. Of course, they are not actually playing with a cricket ball, therefore they actually don't need a protection, but still they want to imitate what they see on the TV. And this doesn't stop, this imagination, as you can see. Anything that looks like a wicket, broomsticks become. And so we have to learn a lot from these people. And this is no less tinkering. And the reason why I'm also mentioning is because these are the children who already tinker in their regular life. And when they join school and college, they stop doing that. I think we have to really reflect on this issue. What is it so wrong in our schools and colleges that we stop these tinkering children, which are tinkering by birth, as the way, life is full of tinkering and imagination and imitation and innovation. So why are we dropping all these things and getting into academies where they don't allow us to do anything other than consuming knowledge and the lessons that we learn from the teachers? And how can anybody be called a teacher if they can't help us to produce knowledge? We don't want to consume knowledge. I think this is the first important call that all of you as young STEM practitioners have to realize, is that we have to take a pledge saying that no, we don't want to be consumers. We want to shape the new game of STEM ourselves, the way how cricket is done in this country. So this is my important point that I want you to ponder about. So just as we took cricket to the streets and became world class, and I'm actually saying this reason because any country where cricket is not in the streets has never become world class. There is a reason for that, and that reason is that you can't actually maintain a very good team unless we have a lot of spectators and a lot of players across the country. And that kind of base of the pyramid is not very strong. I would like to take here a small example to tell why I like this example so much. Let us imagine that our top cricketers, let us say 15, 16 of them, and whatever that team is, suppose they have been captured in some island. And so let us say they all gone to some place and then they're not now approachable. And so the situation that I'm imagining is that we lost the top 15 people in India of the cricket. Now the question that you have to ask is, how long will India take to produce the next team, the cricket team? So if anybody want to answer this question, I'd be very happy. How long would Indian country will take to produce the next best cricket team in the country?
So maybe 1 month?
Sir. Maybe 1 month?
It will take maybe 1 month.
Yeah, okay. And now the question that I'm asking is that take away the IITs, TIFRs and ICERs. Let us say the top scientists from India have been taken to something like a remote island. They've been sent out. They've been hijacked or grouped by somebody who doesn't like the country. So how long will India take to regenerate the scientific expertise in the country? The top leaders are no longer available. So how much time do we take to rejuvenate?
Probably a decade or so.
So what does this tell us?
5 years to 10 years.
So what does this tell us? Okay, yeah. So 5 years, it could be 10 years. Well, your imagination is as good as mine in this case. The reason why we have to reflect.
Unpredictable, sir.
Yeah, I agree. But now why is it that in the case of cricket, we will be able to find out best people? Because of one important reason, that we have plenty of them. And how is that plentiful possible in the case of cricket? Because it is played in every street corner. And it is played, there are clubs all over the country. Now tell me one thing, where are the clubs in India for STEM? And you will hear the story from Richa a while, maybe after me. Richa will tell us how difficult it was for them to create a club called the Makers Asylum, where they wanted to create a small space and invite members from the community to do something, to make something. So the question is that nowadays, when we build a residential apartment set, some kind of home communities, we think of a swimming pool, we think of maybe a badminton court as well as a cricket ground and things like that within the space. But are we also thinking about at least one maker space in that residential space? How many colonies do we have across the country? I mean, I live in a scientific colony called BRC. We don't have a tinkering space within such a thousands and thousands of scientists are living in my colony, and we don't have a maker space. And the children don't have a tinkering space at all. And the people who want to become scientists are expected to read books. You can't read science. You have to do it. And you can't even become a poet by reading. You have to write poems. You can't become a writer unless you start writing. So this is the important thing that we have to do. And that is one of the major problems with our education system. And that is why we have to do this Punarkalpana. And that is the important thing. So I'm using this cricket to not only as inspiration because it inspired me quite a lot, but it is also the reason why we have a lot of things to learn from there. Because except cricket, maybe we don't have anything to talk about in India, where we are number one. So that is the situation of exactly where we are and then where we want to go. So if we want to reimagine the STEM space within the country, we have to ask for maker spaces, tinkering spaces, laboratories everywhere across the country, at home as well as on the street or in the residential colonies or in the addas out there. When we go out for chai, let us say in TIFR to the canteen, what do? We keep discussing for hours on various topics under the sun. And now my question is that chatshala, that chai ka adda, a patshala? And that is the question that we have to ask. And in fact, these are some of the reasons why we actually thought of reimagining STEM education and reimagining the future Indian classrooms and colleges. And do we need classrooms or patshalas, or do we need chatshalas? And I am certainly one of those who would opt for a chatshala and a maker space. But just a maker space is not enough, because we have to have the chatshala as well associated to it. So while we play these games, I mean, all of you know how much we gossip about cricket. And everywhere we gossip about cricket. Of course, I don't want to leave out the people who actually gossip about football, particularly in Goa and Northeast as well. You know, because in India, everywhere we don't play cricket. Examples are Goa and Northeast. They play football. And for them, football is their way of life. So this is a point that we need to reflect about. And so I actually want to stop here because just want you to think about this analogy that I drew at this moment between cricket and STEM games. So are we ready to make STEM games in this country, just as the way we want to do cricket? Are we ready to do frugal STEM labs? Like, are we ready to make a broomstick as a wicket in the STEM games? So I'll stop here and maybe take questions along the way.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for such an insightful talk. And I think we need more of tinkering right now. And I think the girls are really understanding that the maker space is what they need to excel in their STEM careers forward. I think we will take questions further, but there is one statement that another mentor who took the internal discussion today, he said, we need more Acharikars if we need Sachin Tendulkars in STEM. So obviously, if anybody who wants to excel, we need more people who can make such great people as well. So likewise in STEM, taking to that, I think now we can go ahead and have our second talk before we go on to the question and answer session. So for that, I would like to introduce Richa Srivastava. Richa Srivastava is the managing partner at Makers Asylum. Richa drives strategic collaborations and partnerships for Makers Asylum. She believes that the future of learning is evolving and alternative spaces will be significant in customizing people's learning journeys. Makers Asylum space focused on fostering innovation through purpose-based learning on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. The space houses various that are created in order facilitate prototyping of ideas that are interdisciplinary in nature. Richa is also a graduate from Indian School of Business and Bachelor of Engineering, Electronics and Communication from Birla Institute of Technology. In her previous stint, she worked with government of Andhra Pradesh to drive IT investment into the state. She has also been particularly instrumental in forging strategic partnerships with the likes of Monetary Authority of Singapore, Visa, Thomson Reuters, and 30 plus such partners for FinTech Valley, Visa. During the ongoing pandemic, Richa has been recognized as a Vogue Warriors from India as the woman who has helped design 500,000 face shields to help frontline and essential workers. We are really excited to have you, Richa, today with us and to sharing her views on tinkering for social good. Over to you, Richa.
Thank you so much. And hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. Hi, everybody. I've been I had a little emergency this morning, so I had to fly down to Bangalore. Hence, I was not reachable. So all the people who were trying to call me, really sorry. And hopefully my connection is stable and all of you can hear me. Very nice to meet everyone. Good morning. My name is Richa. And can I share my screen, by the way? All right, so I'm just gonna show a quick presentation. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. So that's me, Richa. I and my husband, Bhabha, we run a space called Makers Asylum. It's a maker space. Like in the previous conversation, we were talking about maker spaces. So we are one of the maker spaces in Mumbai, but we recently shifted to Goa in the pandemic. And just a little quick background about myself. I grew up in a lot of cities growing up. So all my life I've been like traveling because of my dad's work. So I grew up in about 10 cities. I always was interested in science and I love tinkering and making stuff. So I decided, that I wanted to be an engineer. So eventually in life, I did my engineering from Birla Institute of Technology in Mesra and Ranchi, where I did my electronics and communication engineering. Then I went on to sort of work for the telecommunication sector with Idea Cellular, which is part of the Aditya Birla Group, where I was working in technology strategy. So my role was primarily to in the beginning, my role was actually quite technical in the sense that I was working on there are these network switches that are there in telecom. So I was kind of like the operation maintenance person for it. So had a lot of night shifts. I used to do a lot of coding, maintaining, hardware maintenance, software maintenance, and a lot of things like that. And post that, the chief technology officer at IDEA, where my role was primarily to work on technology strategy with the leadership of the organization. Post that, I decided to do my MBA. So I went to Indian School of Business for that, which is in Hyderabad. And then it was very interesting thing because I never wanted to sort of work for the government. Like all of us sort of think about governments and, have our apprehensions about it. But I incidentally got a job with the government of Andhra Pradesh where I was working for the Chief Minister's IT advisory and strategy, where we were working on creating a startup ecosystem in Vizag, especially around fintech. That's when, towards later part of that, my husband and I, Bhabha, we were dating at the time, and Bhabha was looking for somebody. He started making Asylum back in 2013.
Richa, okay, I think she's...
He was looking for someone to sort of bring in more financial sustainable perspective to a maker space. And we both, I was in an open space, so I wanted to explore something more exciting. That's when we started working together. And now I particularly look at how can maker spaces like ours be financially sustainable? How can there be business cases around a space like this? Because obviously having a space like this is very important in our perspective. But at the same time, the financial viability of a place like this is something that everyone's still, discussing. So my area and my role particularly corresponds to this particular part of Makers Asylum. I am a maker in a way, but like my more focus is around how do we keep things sustainable? How do we create more spaces like this? How do we make things viable for people to sustain longer? So that's where we are. And yeah, that's a little bit of background about myself. And I just wanted to take you through a quick insight into what it looks like. So this is our space in Mumbai. This was our space in Mumbai. This was about 10,000 square feet. So you can see a lot of people. We always have a lot of people hanging around, doing things, making things. So we have a metal shop. This is Priyank, one of our members, who's making this beautiful metal table. He's a metal artist. Then we have a wood shop where we do a lot of carpentry and woodworking. We also have a laser cutting lab where this is a beautiful machine. It does a lot of things. It engraves, it cuts. There's a lot of really interesting things that can be done with the machine. A lot of architects, a lot of designers come to the space to use the machine and prototype their products. We have an electronics lab, and we have a large community space where we host people because it's open for everyone to come. So what I mean to say open to everyone is it's like a community lab in in the previous conversation we were talking about to have, conversations about STEM, about electronics, about like whatever that we want, a little like a geek spot for people to come and hang out and learn at the same time, create, collaborate, and do amazing things. So that's a little bit about the space. And of course, we have a lovely barbecue grill that we've made at Makers Asylum that we use to host all these conversations and, and all the makers of the community. So there are a lot of these installations that we work around, and a lot of people come to the space to use these machines to make installations. That's Khushbu, one of our members. She's an architect. She's making this installation for Make in India, which is made out of the laser cutting machine and a few materials that she's been using. We have some projects like the electric wheelchair, where the community, we work with the differently abled community to work for their problems with them. So, projects like these are also something which is there in the open space. We have a satellite ground station that is being made. So it's an open source satellite ground station that's been made by the community at this space. Quite exciting very interesting project. Music instruments, for example, a lot of that's Rizwan, who's a musician who comes and makes music instruments over there. That's again a guitar making workshop that we were doing some time back. We have something called the Plastic Recycling Lab that we did this project with Hindustan Unilever, where we have converted a mobile van into a plastic recycling hub. So where you can actually go and wash your bottle over here. You can there's a whole plastic extruding and shredding unit inside it, and there's a 3D printer at the back. So it sort of depicts the circular economy of plastics, and it goes to a lot of schools and children to teach them plastic recycling and what can be done. And then, of course, we love a lot of sparks, a lot of metalworking and things like that. So that's pretty much how our space is like. And what we primarily focus on is access to learning and access to tools. That's primary focus of Makers Asylum. But we, just like everyone else, had to shut down the space when India went into the biggest national lockdown on the 23rd of March. And that's when we at the space decided to stay back at the asylum to keep making. So me, Bhabha, Naren, who's a part of our team, 3 of us decided to quarantine at the space. And that's when the M19 initiative started, which was basically focused on providing COVID relief support to the healthcare community. So a little bit of a background about this initiative. So, I mean, on the 23rd, when things went, when the whole country went into lockdown, we really thought that it's important for us to stay next to our tools so that we can keep contributing in a meaningful way. And we really did not realize that the situation for PPE in India was very grave out there. But what we were doing at the lab was we were prototyping these face shields that you can see on the left side. And we posted about this on the 25th of March on our social media. And suddenly we were getting a lot of requests from doctors, nurses, and frontline workers about these face shields and how they could get access to them. Can we make more of these and things like that? So that's when we started realizing that there is a major shortage of these PPEs outside, and especially face shields, and how can we, really contribute in this time. So that's when we started with a whole campaign of making 10,000 of these face shields at our lab at Makers Asylum in Mumbai with a few volunteers. You can see that's Vebhav, that's Naren from my team, and these are the other 2 volunteers, Akshay and Sridhar, who just come in that week to help us out. So we sort of took in a ambitious goal of making 10,000 face shields at our lab, and just amongst like 4 of us, and we started a campaign. So we basically sort of prototyping at the space. So you can see on the right side, there is, this was our first prototype. At the bottom, you can see it's like a paper prototype where we were just trying to see how to make them. Then we progressed into then this type of design, then we kept progressing, and now the face shield looks like this. So we went about 21 design iterations in the process to come up with the final product, and it was out in the market for donations and everything in the time. But what was happening at Makers Asylum, because we had access to the laser cutting machine, and we had access to the laser cutting machine and sorry, one second. Yeah, we had access to the laser cutting machine, so it was very easy for us to prototype. So what happens when you have a space like this in an open community is that there's a lot of experimental things that can immediately happen. So from actually thinking about the idea to actually prototyping and implementing and making a product out of it, generally the cycle in most organizations is much longer. In our case, because we are a makerspace, we were in the right place at the right time, where we wanted to sort of create these. The cycle of actually ideation to prototyping to actually creating the product was just about like a week's time. So just having access to tools like this really accelerates innovation, is what I wanted to sort of emphasize in this slide. And that's how we sort of kept improving, because the whole process of design thinking is all about iteration, user feedback. So we used to literally go to, the healthcare workers at that point in time were really working very hard. So just to get feedback from people and hospitals, we had to go to their houses at night at 12 in the night to understand, if there is any changes that they wanted. There were material changes. So we started with, things like an MDF as a material, but then we went into acrylic. Then we found out that that's very brittle. Then we chanced upon a sunboard, which is a very interesting material because it's completely waterproof and it's very light, because you also wanted the face shield to be pretty light, because because the healthcare workers are wearing them for 7 to 8 hours in the day. So how do you sort of keep that going? And things like that. So we got a lot of feedback in the process, because the certification of these face shields is something that we did not know about. So we relied a lot on user feedback. So the whole process of design thinking was what we teach at Makers Asylum was actually quite implemented in the case of these M19 shields. And at the time, and this is the time when I'm talking about a very choked supply chain. So there was lack of material, there was lack of transportation, everything was pretty much blocked. The first time we had to send about 500 shields to a hospital in Bangalore. It took about 3 to 4 days for Blue Dart to actually ship them out. So that's when we realized that it's important for us to sort of create a distributed manufacturing network of these labs across the country, where we could open source our designs and open source the process and get more makers to make it and serve their local communities. Because even if we tried like with 20 people at our space to, even do everything manually and get more people, we wouldn't have been able to scale at the level. So that's when we decided to open source our design. And because we believe a lot in open sourcing, because the whole space and the whole talk about open innovation is very important for Makers Asylum and in general for us as a community, because, and I'll go to those slides a little later. So that's when we open source our design, and in 49 days, we were able to actually scale these face shields from 0 to 1 million in just about 49 days with the help of distributed manufacturing and open sourcing the design. And because most of these labs, and you can see this whole growth of how it sort of came to 1 million. So we started on the 29th of March, the campaign. And by 15th of May, we had about 1 million face shields that we had donated, distributed in 42 cities, towns, and villages. And this is a little bit of a distribution curve of all the labs which are part of it from various parts of the world, various parts of India and also the world, actually. So we had people from Kolkata, Mumbai, and all of that, but we also have people from different villages and towns and smaller cities as well in the country. So it was very exciting for us to sort of see this whole, the whole open source community and the maker community sort of get together at this time to sort of really contribute in a very meaningful way during the pandemic. So if you see, this yellow line was actually Makers Asylum, where we kept making very steadily, but like you see these other lines which had gone like really up. So most labs were catching up and doing really exciting work at the time. So it was like pretty much all parts of the country, they were joining in, and we had a very interdisciplinary group of people. So there were anyone from filmmakers to doctors to photographers to there was an analyst, a business analyst, a neuro psychologist. So it was like a media house. It was a very interdisciplinary group of people, and the importance of interdisciplinary groups is very important to bring in different perspectives to the same problem statement. So in our case, it was very exciting because we could do multiple things in terms of the outreach and things like that with the help of the whole community. So there were about 300 volunteers who were across the country. You can see all of them on the video call over here. We had the youngest volunteers. The youngest volunteer of the M19 collective was 12 years old. And this was a boy from Bhavnagar in Gujarat. And actually him and his sister, they made these face shields at home without the help of a laser cutter as well. So they were able to actually make them at home, and they made about over 350 of these and actually distributed to the hospitals and healthcare workers in Bhavnagar in Gujarat. And so we sent it across board. We also started making these face shields for kids at the time, because there was a lot of because masks are not something that are very recommended for kids. So we started making these for them. But I wanted to sort of show you guys, this is a slide that one of our friends, Bodo, who's in New York, and he's been doing some great work around prosthetics with his own daughter, talks about. So the closed innovation cycle, when we think about IP and all of that, is that there is a big idea, then you go into design, you build, you test, you analyze, you design, you build, you test. It sort of goes into that. So there are marginal incremental improvements only that happen in this, and then there's a successful solution. But what happens in a open social innovation cycle, so the difference between a closed innovation cycle and open innovation cycle is that there's not only one idea, there are multiple ideas in an open innovation and solutions are much more accelerated.
Richa, we lost you again. I think there is some network problem.
Okay, so sorry. I don't know what's happening with my connection, but yeah, that's what I was just talking about. Like, there are multiple successful solutions, and there's more insight when there's an open innovation cycle versus a closed innovation cycle when you're talking about IP versus open sourcing. So we are a big believer in open innovation, and we generate a lot of solutions at an exponential rate. So that's what I wanted to talk about. And this is a little bit about all the other products that we've been making. So we started making these MAPRs, which are active respirators for healthcare communities. These are reusable and sustainable PPEs as well. And so I'm just going to quickly wrap it up. And so that's our team that's been working. I could show you a little bit of the video that I have on the initiative. Do we have some time?
Yes.
Okay. Let me show you how this all went about. And just a quick.
Today's day 49 of the M19 Collective, and together,
thousands and thousands of doctors and hospitals across the country are facing a severe shortage. Require a wartime effort to be able to ensure that every medical staff testing against the unavailability of PPE gets to 8,000 personal protection kits left in the Delhi government stock. M19 patients with COVID-19.
today's day 5, today's day 7, multiple designs. 4 cities have caught on to making 1,000 shields today. We ended up making 2,200, and we tried multiple versions overnight. From fact like Nagpur, Mohit and Ravi from Jaipur to join the call. They call M19. Come on, Gadi. Karuna mat padaro mare de. 8, 15, 11 labs and 10 cities.
They're completely Atmanirbhar and manufactured by Nitin Nahi Members of the M19 Collective.
Pune, Kerala, 2,600.
Mirago Labs.
Jammu and Kashmir, Guwahati, Nanded, 6,253 seats.
बनाए जा रहे 8,44,128 space.
DAPR, taking sanitizer.
Something but it's the whole team of M19 Connect face shield has been made and designed in India.
My name is Rania.
Hi, I'm Ishita.
Hi, I'm Ramya from Bangalore.
My name is Mohit. Dr. Samir. Listen, Lali. I'm a part of it. I'm the part of M19 Collective. M19 Collective. M19 Collective.
Part of the M19 Collective.
M19 Collective.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share this video with you guys where it just sort of shows the power of open sourcing, open innovation, having community labs and maker spaces across the country, and how it can be so powerful in the way that it can be a real boon for the society at large. Because I think at the time when the governments and big organizations couldn't do a lot, I think the community maker spaces and the makers across India. And this is the same story that happened across the world as well. Every maker space in the world actually just got to work and making. So it just sort of shows the whole maker culture and the mindset of these makers, and what we truly sort of represent is this layer of people on the grassroots level where who you don't even think would be sort of adding who one would not even think about were the protective support for these healthcare communities. And I think the maker spaces all across the world was such a frontline support to these frontline workers. And I think it's a great global story of all the maker spaces who just got together and started working, and they were not coordinated with each other, but all of them were doing the same thing. They were making, and that's what they were doing. And I think that's the power of a community and a space like this. And I really believe that it's very important that maker spaces and the maker culture somewhere that people start experimenting with. Yeah.
Definitely, Richa. And it was wonderful to, yeah, definitely. There was some, your voice was halting in between a little, but definitely I understand your message. And I think the girls have also got it, that innovation or little tinkering can lead to such innovation, which can later lead to help and benefiting the society in a much larger scale, especially as you can see in the as you can see in the pandemic period when it is going on, how a little bit of keen observation can lead to a really good innovation, which can really help the community on this particular scale. Richa has drawn his journey in such a beautiful way, and the work that they are doing and the importance of doing things with our own hands, experiencing the magic of making, it is really commendable. Especially the importance of identifying the problems with keen observation, working with people coming from diverse backgrounds, and then, and as she mentioned, that interdisciplinary fields, when you are thinking in all the fields together, or if you have help or you are using expertise or potential of different people coming from different background, you really can make the change. Thank you, Richa, for a wonderful conversation and bringing your initiative that has helped India a lot in this pandemic time. And now, if I have you and Professor Nagarjuna now, I would like to take questions from Kalpana Fellows so that both of you can answer those questions. I'm not sure. Darshna, do we have Professor Nagarjuna?
Yeah, I'm around. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And so I will be taking questions from girls, and they have been asking about one of the girl, Yachana, she suggested we have to adopt Chatshala because once we discuss about STEM things in Chatshala, then explore our ideas to create something scientific, as they have mentioned. One girl, Supriya, she's asking, what are the strategies that can help in making effective STEM education accessible to all?
Okay. So I have shared the screen of the Chatshala platform. Are you able to see it?
Yes,
yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So I will answer this question in the following way, in the sense that you know, a project called the Cube. So you can see there's something called Cube Chat here.
Yes.
So the Cube actually stands for Collaboratively Understanding Biology Education. So
Okay.
biology background, so I tinker in biology. And many of my colleagues and friends in the lab also, we do that. And if you actually look at some of the posts, I would invite all of you to have a look. Not only those who are doing biology, but anyone can actually go and look at it. So if you can look at it during this pandemic time, we have been running every day from 5:30 to 9:30. Every day from 4:30 to 9:30, Saturdays, Sundays, every day. So which means that you can imagine for the last 6 months, there is not a single interruption to this collaboration.
Wow.
What are we doing? We were actually discussing everybody's projects. So how do we, so we are not going to the college. So what do we do? Well, you can start experimentation projects at home. So all of you know that you can catch a fly, such as a fruit fly, in your kitchen. So then what do you do with the fruit fly? So we discussed all those things here, and now we have certain chemicals that are available only in the lab, the college, but we don't have those chemicals at home. So what do we have? Do we have an alternative? So we don't have agar agar, which is commonly used for creating the meat for the fruit flies. So one of the student innovators, an undergraduate innovator, and what she did, suji, and which is what we in South we make upma with, upma rava as we call it. So we used that as a substitute with the tomato juice to provide some other additional nourishment for the flies to work with, and that created an innovation. So what do you do when you don't have a lab? I mean, you actually create the stuff. So it might look like biology, but then we are actually tinkering and creating and innovating during this process. The children, what do they do when they don't have X, they don't have Y? So find out alternatives for that, and that is actually what we call that is exactly when the creativity begins. You look for alternatives. You look for alternative ways of doing things. So that is exactly what I would suggest we should be doing. But whatever you do, whether you do it in the lab, whether you do it in the classroom, whether you do it everywhere, just don't forget just one thing. Don't say a classroom environment has to be silent. A classroom environment has to be a place where you talk to each other. Create as noisy classrooms as possible. So it has to be a chatshala and not a patshala. And you can even convince your teachers, telling them, look, we have no depth of looking at good, bad, ugly content all over the world. Internet is full of content. There is no depth of good lessons or even good lectures that you can hear. You want the teachers to participate in your conversations, answer your questions, or ask the teacher to ask questions to you. And so that you can prepare those answers. And all these things don't take anything. The only resource that you need is willingness to spend your time in all these explorations. So if you have time as a resource, which is the most expensive resource in our life, we live a short time, and so we need to use that resource as much as possible. And don't waste your time in what I can say, becoming a consumer of knowledge. Spend your time in producing knowledge, and when you start participating in that, it's not at all difficult to do this process. So, I mean, this is just my invitation, saying that if you have many other questions, follow-up questions, I mean, you can almost ask them at this chatshala called the metastudio.org. Just join here and start asking these questions. We also have another interesting principle, is that geek, meek, and weak all are welcome to our chatshala. So we don't have any selection at all. Everyone is invited. We have absolutely no selection process. And but then what we do is we actually grant badges when you start conversing. So if you start conversing, you get badges for what you display during this process. So this is what I'm saying. So essentially what I'm saying to say is that I answered is a very short answer to your question is be frugal. If you're frugal, we'll be able to achieve what we want to achieve.
So can you explain frugal in other terms to our girls as again? Because most of them doesn't understand few words.
Okay, so frugal essentially would mean something like what in the cricket example I showed. For example, you don't have those lightweight, very wonderful wickets that you get in the sports shop. Then what do? You don't have money to buy them. So what you do is you just go and pick up some sticks. If you don't have sticks, what do? You take a broomstick and do it. So this is what I mean by frugality. And I told you, like, I don't have agar-agar, which is a very expensive medium to buy from biochemistry shop. So you don't have agar-agar, then what do? Well, what is agar-agar actually? So it's just carbohydrate, right? So can I make agar-agar substitute using, for example, kanji at home? Can I just overboil rice and convert that into agar-agar? Or can I use chena grass, which might substitute for agar-agar? So this is what I call frugal thinking. Okay, like it is almost like, it's also another way of looking at it. Like, for example, how do I use hammer as a paperweight?
Definitely.
Right?
It's like finding other person.
Yeah,
another
other uses of what you have at home. Like, you just think about it, you will be able to find out what you can do about it. And so frugality also means that sophistication is required in the mind and not in the lab.
Definitely.
Anything
can work out.
So sophistication and is about being creative. It's not about expensive toys.
I just wanted to add to Professor Nagarjuna's point about frugal, and just to convey it in a way of very simple, the way that we communicate mostly. We obviously are a big believer in jugaad, and frugal is a jugaad mindset as well. Yes.
Yes. So finding alternatives to carry out the basic thing that you want to achieve later on. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, Bharti, I just wanted to add one small thing. It can be gully cricket equivalent of sophisticated science, so sophisticated cricket that people are playing. So
definitely. So I think girls are understanding the meaning of it, and it is really aligning with the thought we shared in the internal panel today. There is another question. Thank you, sir. And now I will take this one question for Richa. And the question is, ma'am, can you please suggest some tips to improve our coding skills? How can we adapt more coding techniques in more programming languages? This is Gunjan, our Kalpana fellow, asking you.
Hey, Gunjan. Thank you for your question. I think, like when I was doing my 10th and 12th grade, I was really not good at coding. So I think what one of my teachers kept saying was you need to really practice. So I think there are a lot of tools available, and the different kinds of programming languages, right? So you have anything from Python to Java to SQL to various different languages. So we do a lot of work around Python and basic assembly line for electronics and stuff like that, coding for electronics and drones, etc. So depending on what language it is, I think the important part is practice. And there are a lot of tools available online and free tools which are available lately, where you can actually just log in and start making stuff. And these days what's happened is there are these blocks of codes, and you don't even have to write a code, but you can use these blocks to sort of create more application based coding and things like that. So there are multiple options, I think, online. And I think the bottom line would be practice. If you really like coding, or if you want to really become good at coding, you should just get to coding and practicing.
Thank you. Thank you, Richa. And we have, before going on another question, there is something that Darshana wants to add and ask, sir. Darshana, please go ahead.
Yeah. So I have met girls. I said that we need a little walk through Chatshala. So it would be really helpful if you can, quickly say something. And I will make sure that our girls, they join Chatshala, and if we can have a Kalpana subgroup on the Chatshala where all of us are sharing our curiosity in the next 3 weeks next 4 weeks that we have with the girls. So the program ends on the 29th of November. So hopefully between between today and 29th, we will induce all of them into this platform, and they can start sharing their knowledge and everything. So if you can just quickly share something, rest I will take care of. I will also share this, like I will nudge them more to join, I will give more instructions about this, but any beginning bit you can say. And I just want to say this for girls, like we all were talking about scientific projects and how do we learn if we don't have access to projects and everything. So I think this is our one of the ways that by which we can do experiments, really interesting science, questions we can explore from the comfort of our home. So yeah, so this will be one of the things that all of us will be doing together. And over to you, GN, like if you want to add.
Well, very briefly, I mean, this is the site is a no-brainer. It's a very simple site. You just visit metastudio.org. Maybe that link you can share with all the participants. Yes, I think my screen is still being shown. Hopefully,
yes,
you're able to see that. So as you can see something called STEM chat, because the games that we play are projects, and we discuss about those things. So that's why it's STEM chat and STEM games. That's what the MetaStudio project is all about. So you will very soon see your own group here. You can call it Kalpana Chat, and we can create that group for you. And you're all welcome to chat. But of course, all these other chats are also for you as well. You can also go and look at that. So as you can see, we also have turtle chart. For example, a while ago, someone was asking, like, they want to learn programming. How do we begin? So I would suggest you start looking at the discussions that are a turtle chart. So turtle is a small agent that will teach you programming. So and a computational thinking, as well as introduction to constructionist model of learning as well. And then there are also Python tools to do turtle as well. It's basically the turtle logo program. Then we have a biology chart called the cube chart. Then you have COVID chart. A chip chart is for electronics chart. A barefoot chart, well, we recently started something very thing. This is called philosophical discussions, because so every Saturday we have a barefoot chat. Of course, the online conversations also tell you what they are, and we keep announcing events. And we also have quite a growing community of people. So as you can see on the right hand side, you'll see the posts that are happening. For example, every day we announce this. As you can see, this is S2E40. Can anybody guess what would that mean? This is season 2, episode 40. Season 2, episode 40. So that's the way how every day we are creating 4 hours of footage. Every day, 4 hours of footage of young scientists collaborating from across the country, talking about science, and they're discussing experiments and things like that. So do join any day from 5:30 to 9:30. Saturday, Sunday, holiday, doesn't matter for our CUBE people. And you will be glad to see that they're waiting for Kalpana to be there for one important reason, that most of our CUBE is full of women and small girls as well. And of course, there are lots of men as well. I mean, they're absolutely interesting space to be in. And we're not only with people. I mean, we have with flies, we have snails, we have worms, we have earthworms, we have bacteria, we have everything. So it's a full world of places where we tinker with these things. So every day we cite these things. And one important thing that I must mention here is that we believe in using everything free and open source. So the platform is made using open source technology, which means that we made it ourselves. And the Big Blue Button is a free software project for doing video conferences like this. In fact, we don't use Microsoft Teams, or we don't use Zoom, we don't use Google Meet. We use free software for creating our chatshalas. So this is also a very important message that I want to give, because India, if it wants to lead the world, it has to be self-reliant. And you can't produce self-reliance by becoming a consumer of these major market forces. So this is also another important thing that I want to tell you, is that this is just not a space that we are consuming. We are actually we have made it ourselves in our lab, and we program and keep adding features to it. And if any of you want to join programming Chatshala, you are welcome as well as a programmer. So in fact, most of the projects that are done by student interns. So the lab software is also created by them. And I also want to invite you to see, can you see the second tab? Or you are still on Meta Studio? Can you just tell me?
We can see Welcome to G Knowledge Lab.
Yeah, that's right. So this is the lab of ours, which produces these chatshalas and things like that. So the reason why I'm asking you to come here is because this is the place where you get to read a lot about ourselves. Like we answered many of some of the frequently asked questions are also being asked here. So what kind of pedagogical principles we use and things like that. So essentially, if you when you come here, all that you need to do is, if you are about 13 years old, you just use your email and join this project. So that's all there is to it. And once you join, the games begin. What kind of a games? In the sense that as soon as you come there, the only thing that you can do is read other people's writing. So only when you keep reading other people's writing, you will get the you will be graduated to post. That means you can't post unless you start reading. So the platform actually looks at whether you are reading other people's work or not, whether you are replying to other people's questions or not. You can reply to people, but you can't initiate a new topic. So the point is that this is a way of gamifying this whole experience, in the sense that this is what we are saying. You know, graduation doesn't mean that it happens only once a year. In our case, it happens every afternoon or in the middle of the night. So you can graduate so fast, and on a single day you can get 3 or 4 badges depending on what you do. Let me also show you, because this is one of the unique features of our platform. These are called badges. So we have 2 kinds of badges. These are called cool badges or cool habits. Okay, so you have cool habits and STEM habits. In fact, I think you also wanted me to talk about STEM habits, so I just wanted to take the opportunity to talk about them. So cool habits are basically about the various kinds of soft skills that we all need to be a good human being. Like you appreciate somebody, you have to like what they're doing. Okay, so and if you don't like something, you know, you have to flag that to everybody, saying that, look, somebody is speaking not very good language, so just flag that post. So we manage ourselves. There is no bureaucracy on this place. And then you can, if you make a link, for example, to another topic, you get a badge. You reply to an email, you get a badge. You read the guidelines, you read a badge. You read all the rules, you get a badge. And then the most important part of our portal is the STEM habits. So this is, I think, happening for the first time in the world, where we have actually uncovered what does it mean to be a scientist. So how will you become a scientist? A lot of people think that if you're an artist, you won't be a scientist, but scientists are artists as well. And scientists are authors. Scientists have to be keen observers. they have to question the assumptions and they have to declare the assumptions to talk about it. So they become axiomatic calibrators. So they have to be bug finders. They have to be cartographers. They have to be creative. They have to collect data. They have to visualize data. And they have to doodle as well. For example, in one of the classes in my college, I was doodling in place of taking notes. My lecturer actually asked me to stand on the bench as a punishment because I was doodling and not writing anything on my notebook. But let me tell you, doodling is a very good STEM habit. Keep doing while you're listening to people, because you have to represent your ideas. And that is very crucial for becoming a scientist as well. So these are the things. So please go ahead and look at these things. For example, being frugal, also we get a badge. If anybody who finds alternatives to expensive equipment, we give a badge to them. So far 46 people got frugal badge. As you can see, 52 people got fabricated badge, 52 people got explainer badge. So we have a complete record of everything. So which essentially means that we are actually running an online academy here, where you won't get graduated after a year, but you will graduate every day by just looking at many of these things. Of course, even on the Meta Studio Knowledge Lab platform, you have a lot to learn about what we are doing. So you can, for example, go and look at the platform called the Cool STEM Games platform and read more about it. All these details are actually there. And continue asking us questions as and when you want. Just join Meta Studio and ask us questions. And it's not just me. There are a large number of mentors. And by the way, over a period of time, some students also become mentors. I just wanted to maybe show you something important here. We are a growing community. So let me show you, we're almost 1 year. As you can see how we're growing slowly, very steadily. We have large amount of people starting. We started more than a year ago, but now we're looking at it. So now one interesting thing that you could see is that, this is how people graduate. So when you join with the 0 trust level, and slowly you'll graduate to 1, which is trust level 1, that where you are given more privileges on the platform. The moment you come to trust level 2, you can start giving badges to other people as well. So which means that we are not expecting only the teachers to give badges. Each student can give badges to the other people as well. But then for that, you have to be one of those 56 people. And those 56 people are some of those 598 people who actually graduated automatically to 56. So this is a game we are playing here. So that is how we want to turn academy into a game. And of course, as soon as you click on somebody's name, for example, here I'm clicking on my name here because I have opened my page. So if I click on the summary of my place, so this is what you'll see. You'll see all your activities. And most importantly, you can also see all the badges that you get. So these are the badges that I got. Some of them given by other people, some of them the platform gives automatically. So in that sense, what I'm trying to say is that this is a platform where we are collecting and creating a certificate for you based on what you do on the platform. That means you are coming to this college, so to speak, or a school, whatever, or an academy, and you are discussing things. We have no syllabus. You can discuss anything under the sun. And depending on how interesting this is, even for asking a question, you get a badge. And you answer somebody's question, you get a badge. It's a peer-to-peer community. And what flows in this community is just passion. So don't ask us why will I be getting a certificate or at the end. I mean, you get a certificate every day, so don't worry about the certificates at the end of the course or something like that. So and over a period of time, for example, once you reach the trust level 3 or 2, you're allowed automatically to publish your own blogs. That means you can write about yourself, your own experiments and things like that as blogs, and you can maintain wiki pages and things like that. So I mean, other than that, what I would say is that you're all invited to join metastudio.org, and I will be in touch with all of you, and we'll work out a strategy to create a separate chat group for Kalpana, and we'll take it from there.
Thank you, sir. And I think we can actually explain them later further, and once they are joining, how they can go ahead and do all the communications on cool stems and chat games. And as we are overshooting the time, girls, I think like there are lots of questions. So I hope like our speakers can bear with us, and we have many questions coming up. I would like to take few as long as you allow us, and then later probably I can just forward you the questions to answer them, if it is okay.
Sure, that sounds good.
Okay, so I will take another question that is for Sir again, and okay. Hello, sir. Is that like, how can we take science experiments on street? Games that we play anywhere but science. How can you please tell us? This is Roshni asking you.
So hi Roshni. That's a very good question. So we can take it to the street in so many ways. By for example, organize a small we can say just a small exhibition kind of thing in some corner. It doesn't have to be formal or anything like that. I just want to tell you something like we did. We made microscopes one day. We had a workshop, a day-long workshop, and then we at the end of the day we created 10 microscopes. So here essentially what we did is because every biologist needs a microscope, so we made 10 microscopes. And after that, what we did, we went to Chembur. Chembur is a small township very close to the place where we work. And one of our the people who are close to our lab knows there is one phone shop there. I think it was a Vodafone phone shop. So we just asked that Vodafone phone shop, can we put up a small table here, and we want to show some, we want to tell the passers-by in the street to show them microorganisms like amoeba, paramecium, hydra, bacteria, and things like that, because we made microscopes yesterday and we want to show them today. And we spent 3 hours on the street just before the shop. With no announcement was made. We were just doing it, and we looked very funny. And then people started coming and asking us, what is this? And then we told them, okay, why don't you look in the mobile? So the mobile was actually showing what is on the microscope, and they were actually seeing a snake kind of thing that was moving. And then we showed them a small water drop on the slide, saying that mujhe to kuch nahi dikh raha hai. So of course you won't see anything in the water drop, but then when you put it on the microscope, actually there is a worm moving around, and people are so excited. So you have to excite people on the street, just like you excite by playing cricket and talk about it. So this kind of excitement is possible when you show them the wonders. What excites you? So we took microscopy to the streets, and then we also did some tinkering job with the help of Bangalore makerspace. We have this is called the Bangalore Science Makerspace. So what they did actually is that they actually conducted the workshop for us, and they created a small rod on the thing. And then when people were asked to come close to the rod, don't touch it, just move your hand. So they did that, and then suddenly in the speakers there was a musical sound coming up. So even without touching a small conducting wire, you just have to move like this. And then they started moving like a rhythm, and they actually started playing a musical rhythm by just waving hands. So they were just waving hands on the street, and the speaker was actually throwing out sound. Now, why is this interesting? Because see, this is how you have to excite people about STEM, and this is something that you can do it on the streets.
True.
And another important way of doing, of course, would be that once in a while, a lot of interesting things happen in our nature. For example, there is an eclipse that happens out there. Whether it is a complete one or a partial one, or sometimes there is a shower in the sky, then call people in the middle of the night on the rooftop or something like that. And that is rooftop science. It's not street corner science. So you can do it in the daytime, you can do it in the nighttime. Science can be done every time. In fact, if you really want to observe birds, you have to wake up early in the morning at 5 o'clock. And and there are a lot of butterflies and they come onto the streets as well. So the question that you ask is that why are they coming there? And find out those things, and which butterflies come to the street corners, and which street corner which butterfly goes. And if you see, lo and behold, there's a lot of pattern. If you don't have curry patta in your street, then some certain kind of butterflies don't come there. If you don't have lemon plant in your area, then certain butterflies don't come there. So the question that you have to ask is that what is the relationship between curry patta and a particular butterfly? So this is how we encourage people to think about science. There are plenty of examples. So if you are not clear about it, of course, that's the reason why we have Meta Studio. So ask your questions there, and then it's not just me who is going to answer, and there are plenty of people. In fact, sometimes you see that a 11th grade student will be answering a third year BSc student. And that's the kind of peer-to-peer learning environment that we have. We are inviting all of you to join.
Thank you, sir. And I think many of the observations, they have to go now on STEM charts, and I think you will be answered. And if not, try to bring your own understanding as well over there. And then we have another question for Richa. And the student is asking that, do we have any maker spaces regarding all fields of STEM? And are we eligible to gain internships there?
So, in terms of, sorry?
This is Supriya asking, and in terms of all fields of STEM, she's asking, yeah.
So makerspaces are generally a culmination of all fields of STEM and even arts, for that matter, art and design. So any makerspaces that you see will be a culmination of most of these areas. But just to give you an understanding, the Atal Tinkering Labs in the country, there are a lot of those Atal Tinkering Labs that are now at schools. Inside schools, the government of India has sort of pushed the whole agenda about getting maker spaces inside schools. So there are a lot of adult tinkering labs available as well now in across different parts of the country. There are also a lot of independent maker spaces that have started in different cities, towns, etc. So I'm depending. I don't know where are you located, Supriya?
Supriya, where are you located?
Hyderabad, ma'am.
Hyderabad also has a bunch of maker spaces. You can check out Collab House. They do a lot of stuff over there in Hyderabad. Collab House is one of the maker spaces / community spaces over there. The government of Telangana is also doing a lot of work around developing a much larger government setup, which is called T-Works, which is for products and entrepreneurs. But most of these maker spaces are generally open, including ours, to internships. So you can always write to us if you're looking for anything specific to do with us, because in most of these maker spaces, you will find a lot of voluntary based work that is also happening, and a lot of community projects where you can contribute to. You can always write. So I'm sure that most of these maker spaces are open to internships.
Okay. Richa, there are other questions related to the work that you have done recently in the pandemic. So Tina is asking, how does 3D shield protect us from any type of germs and viruses? And also Yogshika added on that question, what was the cost and the material of reusable PPE kits? So would you like to answer?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of the first question, that in terms of how it protects us, So face shields as part of the healthcare workers, etc. They have a certain guideline from WHO to have certain set of things that are part of their kits that need to be there. So the face shield is the primary face cover for your for the healthcare workers or anybody actually now, because most of them have been using it. It offers, because in the case of coronavirus, there's a lot of transmission via spit and mucus. So the face shield sort of helps you protect, these spit particles, mucus particles sort of coming directly into your eyes, nose, and mouth from where the transmission sort of happens. So these are like mandatory for for all the healthcare workers from WHO to have a face shield apart from all the PPE kits. So they are primary protectors. In terms of the cost, when we started making it originally with Sunboard, which was like the design that we sort of came to in between. So the material was Sunboard. We had elastic at the back, and the front visor was PET sheets. PET sheets are the ones that, these bottles, etc., that are made of, your Coca-Cola bottles and stuff. So they are to some extent recyclable. And those were the materials that were used, and the cost was about 55 rupees a shield. And these were laser cut and not 3D printed. Why laser cut? Because laser cutting is a more faster digital fabrication method than 3D printing. So, for example, a shield which is 3D printed sort of takes about an hour to print, maybe, versus in an hour you can sort of cut like over 500 headbands. So there's a stark difference in terms of the fastness. And why did we use cutter was because in India, it was very important to think about a large scale for these, because the demand was so high outside as well. So having just to print 3D printed stuff, it would take time, and it would be a longer process, and that's why we sort of integrated laser cutting into the digital fabrication process.
Okay. That's actually great. And then Shraddha is asking you related to around the things that you are doing in your Makers Asylum labs. So Shraddha is saying, ma'am, I want to learn robotics and machine learning along with my BTech. So she's doing BTech in mechanical engineering, I think. So she wants to ask, how can she learn now robotics and machine learning?
Yeah, I actually, because my connection was going off, but what I wanted to also sort of share with everybody who's over here is that we've started our online platform as well, which is called Learn. So if you go to learn.makersasylum.com, there are a lot of these courses that we're offering online, which are also very hands-on, because at the moment, the space obviously is not accessible to a lot of people, and you can't come to Goa or Mumbai. So if I can show you just a moment, let me just share my screen. Yeah, if you go to our website over here, the main page, there's this thing called Learn. Under the tab, there's something called Live Online Learning, where you can go and check out our online learning platform as well, where there are basically, like Professor Nagarjuna was talking about, we're also looking at this particular platform is designed in a way to sort of progress your learning journey from an explorer, tinkerer into a maker. So there are a lot of these course catalogs that are available for you to choose from. So you can learn anywhere from 3D printing to virtual reality content and app design. You can also learn electronics and robotics. You can also learn how to program and fly a drone. You can also do design thinking and portfolio building and things like that over here on the platform. We are adding more courses to it. So the whole agenda of this platform is to basically help you progress in your personalized learning journey. So you can start with like basic things that you want to learn about, making and doing things, and sort of slowly progress into doing a customized learning map for yourself, where you don't, it's like an open university of sorts, where you can, sort of design your own learning curve. And in the case, and what we do additionally is, as part of these courses, we send you a kit to your house. So basically, for example, robotics and electronics, there's a particular kit that comes to your house where you can actually do it hands-on, and there's 1:1 live tutoring that happens. So you're able to not only just learn passively, but actively with this tool that comes to your house, this toolkit that comes to your house, where it's more hands-on and more because the whole agenda for Makers Asylum has always been hands-on learning, because it really is the center of all our pedagogy of how we sort of teach. So the kit really provides you that access, and because now it's online, it's accessible to everybody. So yeah, that's how it sort of works. So yeah, you can check that out as well.
That's wonderful. So related to that, I have this one question for you. So there are many questions that are coming related to 3D printing, and students are really interested in exploring 3D printing and what is it all about. Many of the girls do not know about it and how you're making shields with 3D printing technique. So is there any particular like age group or anything that they can explore this particular area in your labs, or can
No.
they like undergrad or postgrad or any other student can come
So
and join it?
yeah, so just to give you a background, at our space, we've had an age group of people that access the space from anywhere 10 years old to 65 years old. So it's a very diverse group of people that
Wow.
come to our space. And because making, just like any other skill, you can start at any time in your life.
Okay.
So we generally start at about 10 or 11 years of age. So 3D printing starts then, and then it sort of advances into different levels of courses where you can go more deeper into the whole theme of 3D printing, etc. So I would say there's no most of the courses at Makers, actually all the courses in Makers Asylum are age agnostic and discipline agnostic. So you can start because we start most of it from scratch and go into project-based learning. So you're able to sort of learn, all elements of it from scratch. So there's no barrier for you to start, sort of making or learning things at our space.
That's wonderful. So these maker spaces are like, do you have everywhere in India, or is there any link that we can share with the girls where they can find the maker spaces?
So I think, I mean, we had our spaces in, we had in Mumbai and Delhi, but unfortunately because of COVID, we had to sort of shut it, and we moved now to Goa. But that's the reason why we've opened up this online platform to, sort of keep continuing teaching through that. But makerspace is a very, still a very new concept for India, although we started about 7 years ago. So it's still very fragmented. But what I can do is I can share some links with you where you can actually find certain makerspaces. There is a list of at least 25, 30 makerspaces that we know of. I can share that list with you, and they can check them out as well.
That would be wonderful. Thank you, Richa. And I think students are really like, they are really interested in all these projects which involve tinkering and innovation. Because today we were just talking about all about STEM habits and how it can help them in their STEM careers. And that would be wonderful. So I will take another question now for Professor Nagarjuna.
Yeah.
So, okay, so yes. So Shraddha again is asking, like our education system, we more focus on theories rather than experiments, which make the learning boring in STEM field. So, sir, how can we do more experiments to learn, even if we have to do, even if we do not have enough requirements? As in, I think she wants to say she doesn't have enough resources, but she wants to learn and conduct experiments. Yes.
Yeah, before I answer that question, I would like to also answer the previous question, which Richa already answered, which is about where are the maker spaces. I see there are about 60 participants here, and maybe some more are watching on YouTube and things like that. And let me tell you, wherever you are, the place where you live is the maker space. Okay, I want to underline this again. The place where you live is the maker space. Maker spaces need not be created and then you go there and become part of it. And as I said, during this pandemic, about 200 to 250 home labs have been created across the country. And that happened because each person started doing something or the other. Okay, now I'm coming to your direct question. The question of how do you get onto it is that, see, normally in our college, have is what are called practicals. The practicals are actually protocols. that you know what to do. There is instruction, and then you continue. You spend some 2-3 hours of time, and then come out. Let me tell you, there is not a single experiment in science that can be done in 3 hours. It usually takes 30 days. I mean, you have to understand that important. Even a simple observation takes hours and hours. So what are they doing in the school and college when they're introducing to all these things? They are basically giving you a small kind of a instruction, and through that instruction you will not become a scientist. So what I suggest is do a project. The moment you do a project, the project has a goal to do something or investigate something. So whether it's an investigation project or an innovation project, we support all kinds of projects. So you, for example, you want to find out, for example, how chronobiology or season watching or something like that. So all that you need is a mobile phone and mango trees around your place. So how many mango trees do you have near the place where you are living? So take a picture every 15 days of that mango tree and upload on MetaStudio. And you will be wondering, what is this? I mean, this is not science, but actually you will see that we are doing a citizen science project in Cube called Mapping the Mango Trees Across the Country. And this is a project participated by a large number of people. And then we ask a lot of interesting questions. Why is it that the mangoes in Kerala and Goa start early, whereas the mangoes in Lucknow come very late? And what is the relationship between what time does a plant flower at one place and the other? So now that if you have a research question, it becomes a project for you. And then when you start working through the project, what happens is whatever you need for that project gets accumulated at your home. And that accumulates equipment. Suppose if you are somebody who was looking at biodiversity at the doorstep, as we have a project like that, where what you do is you collect soil samples from various places, water samples from various places, and actually find out what kind of microorganisms are there in that soil and in that water. And when you do this project, you will come to know some interesting things. So you need a microscope. So you go and get one microscope. If you don't have one, you make one microscope. And then you realize that you need some other chemical or some other substance, maybe you need you need a lot of bottles and things like that. Then what you do is you go and get some bottles and put it on your reading table. Then after 2-3 days, your reading table looks like a lab. So where does the lab come from? The lab comes from the project. If you start doing a project, it becomes a makerspace. For example, when the pandemic started, we started accumulating, like I started collecting Arduino boards, collected cutting sheets, collected wires, and you don't have the jumper wires. So what you do is you took the Ethernet cable and took out the copper wire from there, and then you started using them as that. Then the Amazon was not working, so you can't order anything from online at that time. So then you went to the local Kirana shop and actually looked at some batteries and things like that, and you started resourcing. And lo and behold, in about 1 week or so, my table actually looked like a makerspace. And there is another table which actually looked like a biology lab. So how is that one table is looking like electronics thing and another table is looking like a biology lab? And why don't you call this a makerspace? It is a makerspace. So why I'm saying this is because don't try to be a consumer of another makerspace. You make the makerspace yourself, and that is how we have to promote this tinkering culture as a broad-based thing, and we have to do it at every street corner. And that's why I'm saying, and of course, if you are specifically interested in a particular topic, can you Shraddha ask what is the topic that you are interested in investigating? Then I can give a very specific answer to your question.
Shraddha, would you like to ask sir directly? What kind of thing are you interested in? If we still have you here.
I think. Sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I asking about a particular thing, but I'm just asking in general.
Okay, but you may be thinking of some subject or something like that, right? What are you doing currently? Which
I have
subject
completed my 12th.
Very good. And where do you want to go?
BTech.
Wonderful. So, so suppose if you want to become a programmer, or you want to become an electrical engineer or a mechanical engineer, so tell me, then I can suggest a lot of projects. In fact, if you just come to Chatshala and actually ask few questions, you will see we have some 60 to 70 projects already as challenges. So why don't you start doing one of them? Then you will have a project for yourself. And your home will look very soon into a makerspace.
Makerspace.
I mean, your reading table will turn it into a makerspace.
I think Shraddha got the answer. And Shraddha, definitely I would expect you to join these groups because you are at a very right stage where you can really make a difference. And it is good to start early rather than still waiting and thinking like, let me first make my career in what I have thought earlier. So that would be great. And sir, do you want to add anything on that?
Nothing. I just wanted to say that we have students starting at 7th grade, 8th grade onwards, and so there are a lot of people who have very interesting things. I just wanted to say something that another cubist, we call our cube members cubist, who was about to finish his 12th grade. That was and then what happened was that the Nobel Prize was announced in October.
Yeah.
And you should come to Chatshala and read his blog on Chatshala about what he wrote about the Nobel Prize. And in fact, the reason why he wrote that blog as a 12th standard student is because he felt as if he got the Nobel Prize. And you have to find out why he felt that he got the Nobel Prize when the Nobel Prize was announced last year. And you have to go and read his article, go find out, or maybe just type Nobel Prize on Chatshala metastudio.org, and then you will certainly go to that blog and you will find out an answer for this. So how can a 12th grade student get so inspired that he actually thought that, in fact, I would like to make a connection between the cricket and this Nobel Prize here. This is a very important point. So let me take just 2 minutes to tell this story. It's like, so when you are a spectator, you know, even sitting on your couch and watching cricket, and then Dhoni or Kohli or somebody makes a century, why are you happy? Tell me. Why are you happy when someone else is achieving? I mean, this is an important question to ask. Why are you happy when Sachin completes a century, or Sachin is out at 99? You start weeping. Why do you do that? So why is someone else's achievement or failure something to do with your life? And this is an important question to ask. And that's exactly what happened when several of us are actually doing some experiments in Cube, which are closely related to the Nobel Prize that was awarded last year. Because the topics were related. And when the Nobel Prize are awarded to the topic that these guys were investigating, they actually felt that they got the Nobel Prize, because that is the topic on which they're investigating. So this is the kind of relationships that happen very strangely in our life. How we begin to appreciate somebody, and how do we develop the identity of becoming a scientist. And so that is why you are starting very early, and I'm very happy to see you here. And please carry on, and you have a bright future.
Thank you, sir. And I think Richa probably, Richa, would you, I think I do not have any more questions here that I can ask in journal, but definitely there is one last question that I would like to ask you before we go. That is there any cost to join your makerspace or anything for the students, or if they start doing anything online with
So
Makers Asylum?
So because because our Makers Asylum is independently run, and we are not invested by somebody, or we are not funded by a university. We are an independent makerspace. So obviously, to sustain the space, etc., we do have some charges where we charge the members and for our courses. Uh, but I mean, we also do a lot of work through our foundation, where we bring in on board partners who can help us do more things around skilling and grassroots level engagements with different kind of communities as well. So they're both ways of sort of work. But yeah, if somebody wants to independently become a member, there is a certain membership charge, and the online courses are also have a certain fee.
Okay. Okay. I think we will be sharing the link accordingly, but definitely they can just start ahead with the cool STEM and what is available right now to them before
But
selecting anything.
just like Professor's forum, we also have something which is called the Discuss Forum for Makers Asylum, where we have
Okay.
open source projects and different kinds of conversations around multiple projects that are happening in the member community. So we'd be happy to give access to all your students and girls a part of that particular Discuss Forum, where they can see more into the kind of projects that are happening, if they want to like collaborate with some of the members on those projects. So happy to do that as well.
Okay. And before I say, okay, thank you, and thank you for your commitment. Thank you for coming in spite of having an emergency today and coming for this particular session.
Thank you
And
so
I'm
much.
really, like, I'm myself inspired with the work that you are doing for the community at this particular time for the pandemic and everything. So I feel really inspired, and I think each of the Kalpana fellows might be inspired after listening to you, how you guys took charge and just change the whole scenario by taking it into your own hands. And also, on behalf of like the whole cohort of Kalpana 1.0, we are extremely grateful for your enthusiasm that you brought today with your talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you
And I
so much
think,
for having me. It's really so sorry for all the confusion this morning, but yeah, I had a lovely time chatting. And please feel free to float my email address to everyone, and I'll be happy to sort of engage and talk to all the students wherever they need any guidance from our end. Internships, we have a lot of stuff that keeps going on. We also have a particular program that's happening in December, which is focused on working on the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So we do a lot of so the way we bring in a lot of people from different parts of the world, so the applications are now open and there's scholarships also available for those. So anybody who would like to join and sort of really join an action platform to work towards sustainability and climate change, they can always come be part of the program as well.
definitely, that would be wonderful. I'm going to share it. I think hopefully everybody has heard it, but we are recording and it is live as well. So they will be revisiting the whole presentation. Thank you so much. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Bye.
Wanted to add for Richa. Richa, extremely grateful, and we've been following your work on all the platforms, and it's so inspiring to see the way you guys have done, contributed to this whole pandemic. And yeah, again, a very heartfelt thanks from myself personally and Vijay, because the commitment you've shown today is very, very inspiring. Thank you. Like, we don't know what emergency happened, but I hope everything is safe and fine at home. And please take care of yourself. And thank you once again
Thank
for
you so
giving
much.
us so much time.
Thank you so much for inviting us. And uh, it was really, it's always nice to share our story, our collective story.
Definitely.
Bye.
Thank you, Richa. Bye bye. Okay, and coming back to Professor Nagarjuna, sir, can we still ask you further questions, or
Okay,
would
you
you
still
like
have
to?
questions. That's good. Go ahead. Go ahead.
We really, and actually, I'm like, this is so interesting how you said that, like, learning, you have to be in charge of your own learning, any space that you can make a maker space. So that is really wonderful. And I think As at Darshana's place also, I know her nieces, they have started observing Drosophila, and even a little girl, like she's, I think, 2 years, 3 years, she knows what is Drosophila. And more, I didn't know what a Drosophila. I am a PhD in biology, but I didn't know at that time that what is Drosophila. I hope we had this kind of spaces at that particular time, and cool STEM games, because through games, I think we can learn more. It becomes more interesting rather than making it a theoretical way, how it is delivered in schools, the kind of science that we learn.
Yeah.
So it is nice.
And I just wanted to add one thing. You can see the drop in the number of participants. That is because some of the girls are having their data pack getting exhausted, but they have messaged questions, and we are recording the session, so it will be available to our internal students. So that's why we would still like to continue and ask as many questions as possible, because everybody is so excited about this whole chat shala, and I'm sure they will join there and they will ask lots of questions there as well. So continue, Bharti. Sorry for interrupting.
No worries. Yes.
Just one
Yes, sir.
thing I've actually just shared on the screen about the makerspace chatshala that happens from 3:30 to 5:30 every day.
Okay.
Apart from the cube chatshala that happens from 5:30 to 9:30, there is another chatshala that happens for 2 hours every day from 3:30 to 5:30. These are the place where, if you want to start a makerspace, this is the place that you could ask questions about your project that you want to do. So join anytime at 3:30 to 5:30. The link is available on the Knowledge Lab as well as on Meta Studio. So I'll also share these links separately, and I'm sure these links are already shared, but I will share them again as and when you need them.
Definitely, sir.
I just thought that this is important because creating a lab or a makerspace, there is no difference. Whether you use that space for investigation or for innovation, the kind of challenges that you get are very, very same. I also want to announce something very important at this moment, because on 6th, 7th, and 8th, we are celebrating a conference at our chatshala, and this is a place like for the last 6 months, a lot of people have been doing a lot of experiments. So so we have about 12 experiments to share, and all these experiments are going to be presented collaboratively by the group of people. In fact, you will be very surprising to see that there is one experiment that is done by collaborating with somebody from Ranchi, Kanpur, Delhi, Mumbai, and Cochin, and other parts of Kerala. This is a very interesting way in which, collaboratively we are doing projects. So one experiment is conducted across the country by sitting at home. So each person is looking at different aspects of the same phenomena. And so that's something that is very important and appreciative. So you want to read those stories, please join us on 6th, 7th, and 8th at the same link as Cube Chatshala from 5:30 to 9:30. You can come and join and leave anytime, and we also are streaming online as well. So you may also find the link on Chatshala to watch the streaming on YouTube. Just wanted to make this announcement so that.
No, definitely, sir. It is important, and I think girls are anyhow excited, and they are actually looking for more opportunities where they can learn more. And Sid, we have one question that is coming from our viewer from YouTube who also registered for this particular program. So, how STEM education is important in future? This is Prathamesh Mali asking from Shirpur.
Okay. Okay, so why is STEM education important? So STEM includes a lot of things inside it, like science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And this is the reason why we are able to find out more about ourselves. Who are we? Where do we live? What is our what is this place called Earth? And what do we do? How do we live? Where do we get our food? What are the things we need for our life? And So, and then the country's economy also depends a lot on what is it that we can produce, what knowledge we can produce, and how creative is the country as a whole, how self-reliant is the country as a whole. So, India became self-reliant in only very few technologies in the world. We are self-reliant in atomic energy, we are self-reliant in space. But there are so many things. For example, some people say that India is a superpower in computer science, but actually speaking, it is not. We are the largest consumer of computers, and we have a large number of graduates who work for companies as clerks or software coders. Is another software engineer is a term that is used as respectfully, but I would call them clerks because they are not creating anything. They're just maintaining systems that are created by somebody else. So there is a lot of difference between creating self-reliance in our country. So all the devices that we are using today are not made in India. And why can't we make them in India? Why can't we make them in the small towns that are available in any place? So why can't we get to doing that? So that is the reason why, if you really want to create a vibrant, strong economy, you also need to be very good in STEM subjects. I just want to give the example of China, for example. China is not only a largest consumer, but it's also a largest producer in the world. And the reason why China became so independent is because of the self-reliance that the country as a whole achieved. And so we have to learn a lot from the need to become self-reliant. And so for that, STEM is the most important aspect. But STEM doesn't mean there is no art and humanities or something like that. So art and humanities are the key components of how the subculture called STEM actually takes shape. So it's a very important area for reflection as well as for imagination. In fact, science is not just for consumption of the knowledge and the content. There's a lot of creativity involved in it. So
definitely, sir. I think observation is the key, which I always believe.
Yes.
That they have to first observe things properly and more
But
carefully.
you don't observe unless you have a question. You see, that's the interesting thing.
Observation and inquiry goes hand in hand.
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely. So if you don't have a question, you won't see what you want to see.
Indeed. Likewise, we have I think in addition to that, we have a question from Mehraj. She's saying, sir, can you suggest me any project that biotechnology stream that she can pursue or anything? I think that is very field specific, but probably if you would like to add anything on that. Sir, your microphone is muted.
Hello? Yeah.
Yes.
So yes, we can think of a lot of biotechnology projects. Of course, specifically, we need to look at exactly what you want to do. But we can do biotechnology projects. You want to work in the area of genetics, or you want to work in some other area in biotechnology. We can start doing, and in fact, we already have some projects where some of the, in fact, we in the cube we have a number of biotechnology students. Okay. So you can also discuss with them and find out what they're doing.
Okay.
And see, the one of the important things that I also want to tell you is that these divisions that you have in the subjects are also sometimes very restraining, and it will restrict us to do a lot of things. in fact, you see, if you look at the Nobel Prizes that are given to biology, you will actually sometimes see that a physicist has been given a Nobel Prize in biology. I mean, you have great examples like that. Like, for example, who was Watson and Crick? They were actually studying X-ray crystallography pictures of macromolecules.
Rosalind. Yeah.
And Rosalind Franklin is another great example, in fact, that you should be inspired from Rosalind Franklin along with Watson and Crick, exactly the kind of X-ray. So who does X-ray crystallography? Why did the Nobel Prize in biology goes to someone who is not even a biologist? I mean, in the traditional sense of the term.
Yeah.
And look at our recent Indian Nobel Prize winner, Ramchandran. So what did he get a Nobel Prize for? And what was his background? And so what did he work on? I mean, he worked in biology. He got a Nobel Prize in chemistry while he was a physicist. So that's why, don't try to keep this kind of subject divisions in your mind. All of them, in fact, that is one of the main reasons why what we have done is, let me take this opportunity to answer this question, is that, see, if you are a scientist, you will be developing STEM habits. And the STEM habits are so generic that they will help you to become a scientist, whether you are a biochemist or biophysicist or biotechnologist or mathematician or a social scientist or an economist. It doesn't really matter. In fact, one of the ways in which we are thinking to reimagine STEM education of the future is that, in fact, we should stop dividing our subjects in the form of content names and topics and things like that. We should directly say that my curriculum and pedagogy is all going to be directed towards STEM habits. And you can do any number of projects in any area. So you can do a project in biotechnology, and you will come to know that while you're doing a project in biotechnology, you actually have to solve a physics problem. Or you have to develop mathematical ability to model the project and phenomena that you are working on. So these are the key aspects of becoming a scientist. So the divisions that we are drawing between different disciplines is one of the unfortunate aspects of that. So in this program where you are trying to reimagine, you should try to draw new boundaries to your work. I'm not discouraging you to do work on biotechnology. In fact, biotechnology is very important. For example, what is happening? How do you diagnose, for example, this COVID? You do a PCR test.
PCR test, yeah.
And that is biotechnology. But then there is a lot of mathematics involved in understanding how is the disease spreading from place to place. You do mathematical modeling for that. So even if you want to solve a problem like COVID, you need mathematicians, you need economists, you need health workers, you need doctors, you need data collectors, you need municipality workers. See, so that's why I'm saying, we should certainly not think about all these things in a compartmentalized way. But of course, if you want to be a biotechnologist, please go ahead and do it. But you have to have this broad understanding of what are these things called STEM habits. And you have to be good at those STEM habits, whatever the project that you want to do.
Definitely, sir. And that is true. Like, even a crystallographer, a biochemist is not just a biochemist, it's a bio plus chemistry. And then we keep going back to mathematical explanation, and we are using physics a lot when we are doing anything, X-ray or anything. So definitely no field can stand alone. They have to work together, and it should be interdisciplinary.
Yeah. So there is a good example of that. So somebody wanted to understand nerve conduction. We had a a couple of chatshalas just discussing this issue of how the nerve transmission actually happens. So it looks like a biology problem, but eventually turned out that you won't be able to understand nerve conduction unless you know what is electricity, how are the charges responsible for the whole thing, and then you have to understand the difference between diffusion and osmosis, and what is active transport and what is passive transport, and where does why do neurons because you need energy for how do they maintain voltage potential. Now what are you doing? Are you doing electronics? Are you doing physics? Are you doing biology? What are you doing? And you call yourself a neurobiologist. Let me tell you, biology is absolutely one area where everything
mixed together.
Is so nicely made, just like life itself.
It's complex.
Yeah, and that's and of course the taming the complexity is our job. Yes. In this whole process. So we have to manage the beast, so to speak.
Definitely, sir. And it is a very nice example. So biology, basically, it is like bringing everything together and working with everything together. So I think we have many girls and coming from diverse backgrounds here in Kalpana. Many are in a BTech program, BTech Biotech, or some are doing BSc, MSc, and even some are just going to start their BSc courses. Some wants to be an IAS after pursuing science. So even from that perspective, they wanted to bring some changes with some scientific outlook. So they have different motivation to do science courses. But that is wonderful to see in this particular program. And definitely we are going to share, sir, all these details that you have shared with us and these links with the girls so that soon now they can start with Chatshala and all the Q project, as well as they can become part of the Kalpana group that you're going to create on STEM. And I think we can conclude our session today here because I think I do not see any more questions here, and many girls are dropping because of their internet packages getting exhausted. So I think they will have more questions for you on Chatshala, which they are going to bring and direct to the whole community over there.
Yeah,
thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
And thank you, sir, once again from me and Vijay and Bharti and everybody who attended your session today. We thoroughly enjoyed, and I'm very hopeful that all these girls will join Chatshala and make the most of it. So we will discuss the other aspects of like how we are going to sort of put them into the whole Kalpana group with you on a separate call. And again, sir, thanks a lot from all of us. And Vijay is also here. Our internet actually blew up. Our router उड़ गया अभी अचानक से. So we are now connecting from our mobile. So yeah, and Bharti, thanks a lot for moderating the session so well. And thanks again, sir, for your time.
Thank you.
And we
thank you.
posted and
Yeah.
for staying with us for so long. And
okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
And I think, yes, sir. Yes, please add.
Bye, sir.
Yeah. And before concluding, I would just like to end it with this one quote from Kalpana Chawla. Do something because you really want to do it. If you are doing it just for the goal and don't enjoy the path, then I think you are cheating yourself. Thank you, everyone. See you next time.